words that we use, all it is really in its bare bones is it's just vibrations. It's sound, right? Beyond the words that we actually comprehend to have meaning, the definition of words and the sounds that we make, really it's just it's the flapping of our tongue in our mouth and the rhythm of our tonality and things like that. But at the end of the day, what it is it's sound. And so it's important to pay attention to the way you sound. Now, here's a helpful trick that I used to do, back in the day when I started in sales, is I would actually call my own voicemail, right? I would call my own voicemail and I'd have a particular prospect in front of me and I would actually leave a message to them as if I was leaving a message to them on their voicemail. And the reason why I would do this is because I would need to listen to the way I sounded. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sales Remastered. My name is Daniel. I'm your host, and this is a channel that's designed for salesmen. On this particular episode, we're going to talk about a few things that you can do before your sales presentation, before your pitch call, or before your face-to-face pitch. These things are absolutely key that you need to complete before you go into your sales presentation, or you're not going to have a strong enough chance to actually convert that pitch into a closed sale. So you may want to grab a pen and paper if you're driving. Definitely be sure to remember to come back to this video, write down this checklist, because this is an important piece of your sales process, right? Like, we work a lot on the front end, from marketing to telemarketing to application to buttering up the person, and then we move to the structuring of the deal, and then we move to the pitching or the presentation of the deal. Am I right? So this becomes the negotiation aspect, and you can't have any particular sale unless you got a good negotiation process and, of course, attention. And so in this particular episode, we're going to cover a few things that you absolutely must do before you do any of your pitches. As a matter of fact, try this today, and I promise you, you're going to notice the increased attention span, the increased compliance from the people that you are pitching, and the sense of urgency that you're able to influence to the people that you're actually pitching to. So before I begin, let me make sure that you are aware that I'm on more channels than just the channel you're watching me on right now. Besides YouTube, besides Facebook, besides Instagram, you can also catch me on LinkedIn, Snapchat. I'm even on what's that one new one, TikTok. So definitely be sure to check me out. Just look up @Sales Remastered on any of those platforms. Add me to the stream. Be sure you always like and support the content. It helps me back in return for giving you this free value, and it helps put me on the recommended stream so that other like-minded individuals like you and I can also become aware of this helpful channel. So getting back to the meat and bones of this video. So going into a pitch, there are a few things that you want to pay attention to. Number one is sound. That's right. It sounds weird, right? Like you wouldn't even think about it, but if you really think about the context of our message, the overall words that we use, all it is really in its bare bones is it's just vibrations. It's sound, right? Beyond the words that we actually comprehend to have meaning, the definition of words and the sounds that we make, really it's just it's the flapping of our tongue in our mouth and the rhythm of our tonality and things like that. But at the end of the day, what it is it's sound. And so it's important to pay attention to the way you sound. Now, here's a helpful trick that I used to do, back in the day when I started in sales, is I would actually call my own voicemail, right? I would call my own voicemail and I'd have a particular prospect in front of me and I would actually leave a message to them as if I was leaving a message to them on their voicemail. And the reason why I would do this is because I would need to listen to the way I sounded. If you ever catch yourself where, sometimes depending on what you ate or what you drank, like if you drink soda or you drink coffee, sometimes you get like that glucose, right? Like that syrup type sense that's in your throat, and so you get like that's the last thing you want to do on the phone call, right? You don't want to be like just throwing up or hacking up a hairball while you're doing a pitch. Don't do that. So what you got to do is you got to pay attention to the way you sound. And so if I sounded off on this voicemail, I'd pick it up before I'd actually go into my pitch. And what I would do is I would actually drink warm water. The reason for that is because it helps your vocal cords. And there's nothing better than sounding crisp, sounding clean, sounding, just sharp on the phone. Like you sound more confident. This is one of the main reasons why, they tell you to stand up, right? Like motion creates emotion, is because it's the way it sounds. And so you're trying to sound crisp, because oftentimes when you're doing a pitch, this is your first impression of your actual sale. Even though you talk to them hours before, days before, months before, their very first impression of actually considering to buy from you is this pitch. And so of course, the saying, first impressions are everything. And so you need to be on point. So pay attention to the way you sound. Secondly, your sound is also going to have, in your pitch, you're going to have pitches. So you're going to have high pitch, low pitch, and you might know it as tonality. And it's very, very, very important to pay attention to also the way your tonality sounds. Because one thing is for sure is that when you go into a pitch, not everyone is going to be on the same rhythm as you. You need to kind of get yourself back to that baseline. And what I mean by baseline is because if you've ever gone into a pitch where maybe you didn't have the best of news before you went into the pitch, you're going into it with that tonality of frustration. Or like if you're in a rush, or if you're behind, or if you're nervous, you're going into it with that tonality. And it's not just the words you say that give it off. It's not just your body language. Really, a lot of it has to do with the rhythm of your tonality. It radiates the emotion that you are actually feeling. And that's why oftentimes, if you ever ask somebody hey man, are you mad? Because you sound like you're mad, right? Like you could tell, if you're married or you got a boyfriend, girlfriend, or just, any at all, you could tell when someone's kind of upset or frustrated, or, if they're happy, they're in a good mood, you could tell by the tonality, regardless of the words that they're saying. So pay attention to that, because when you come in with a baseline, you can actually start your pitch off or your message off just flat. So you want to be kind of slow. You want to, because what you're doing is you're getting reactions from them first. And you might have heard me in previous content before where I talk about pacing. Pacing is important because you need to be at the pace of them. They're on a particular rhythm themselves. And when I say them, is I'm talking about our prospects. So you don't know what emotion they're currently in. So for you to come in with a hyper optimistic tone, and for all you know, they could have had a real bad day at work. And so that's the last thing that they want to hear, right? You ever feel that way? You ever search for music on the radio, or you're going through kind of your playlist? There's the reason why you flip songs, or you pass up songs that you would normally listen to, is because maybe you're just not in that mood. You're not in that zone. And there's a particular zone that you need to find out that they're in, because pacing is all about figuring out their pace, controlling the pace, and then taking over their pace. Because what will happen soon is that when you figure out their pace, whether it's if they are in a good mood, or happy and optimistic, then go ahead and match that. That's fine. Then go into it and just match their rhythm, right? Because what do people like? They like people who are like themselves. This will subconsciously create rapport, and the science behind it is that you're going to grab their attention more easier. Because if they were optimistic, they're happy, they're outgoing, they're energetic, and you came in monotone and super slow, they're going to want to change you. They're going to want to move on, because you're not on their rhythm. So pay attention to the way sound is. Now, going on to the next thing that you want to pay attention to is preparation, right? So preparation has a lot to do with the message of your overall pitch. But another form of preparation is actually pre-framing. And you've heard me say this plenty of times in the content that I've released before, but you may not understand what I'm talking about by saying pre-framing. So if you've ever caught a video of mine on the channel, and I give you a sneak peek, right? And so you'll see text that says coming up on Sales Remastered. And what I'm doing is I'm giving you kind of a sneak peek of the content within. And all it's doing is it's going over some of the juicy parts, but it never gives you the completion. It never actually goes into the meat and bones. And you're gonna notice that this also occurs on TV shows, right? Like it occurs on TV shows, it occurs on maybe cops or reality TV or reality shows, where they show you the preview and before they even begin, right? Before the show begins, it gives you little bits of sneak previews because it's letting you know what the meat of it is, and it captures your interest and it keeps your attention because it's very interesting, right? And so pay attention to that because it happens to all of us, right? Like, so we'll actually watch it, and some of us will even go through the commercials because we don't want to miss that particular part that they give a sneak preview to. So notice whenever you see coming up on or coming up, you know, that's the cue that they're practicing that art. And so we can do the same thing in our pitch where we are actually framing up the sale. And the reason why I call it is pre-framing is because you're actually preparing them for the pitch. So pre-framing is your way of preparing them to absorb your message. So again, you're coming in with a baseline to figure out their pace, but once you actually figure out their pace, then you go into the preparation, the pre-framing. You're pre-framing their mind, you're capturing their interest. And so you might be like, well, D, how do I pre-frame? What do I talk about when I pre-frame them? Well, what you talk about is you actually put them back into that emotional state because again, you don't know what's gone on since the last time you talked to them. Like typically when you're doing your kind of your warm up, right? When you're building up your rapport, you're doing your application. Sometimes the distance between that conversation to your actual pitch could be anywhere from an hour to, you know, a day, right? So a couple hours. And so there's a lot of things that happen in our lives in between that, and we have to be empathetic enough to understand that they may not necessarily be in that zone anymore. They could have very well forgotten about the things that they talk to you about because they don't talk about things that we talk about all day, every day. To us, it's clockwork, right? So we kind of expect them just to remember every single thing, but there's a more scientific way to go about it, and it's actually pre-framing them. So what you're talking about is you're using the words that you were able to capture or gather and collect from the initial rapport conversation or the application. Things like, you mentioned to me it was important that, or you mentioned to me that you would use your savings too, and you mentioned that you wanted to, right? So you told me that because of you were unable to, right? So basically what you're doing is you're putting them back in that zone where you're talking about things that interest them. You're talking about things that they need. You're talking about things that apply to them. You see, if you're not doing that right now, then I promise you, you're actually leaving money on the table. And if you're just going straight into your pitch and be like, hey, this is Daniel, I got a couple options for you. Grab a pen and paper. Mrs. Jones, nice to meet you. My name is Daniel. Anyway, option number one is like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know Miss Jones. You don't have that rapport of Mrs. Jones. You don't know what Mr. and Mrs. Jones just fought. You don't know if they just got some bad news or if they just got, you know, some news that doesn't even pertain to you, but they're just not in the mood to hear your So you got to be thoughtful, man. You got to prepare. You got to prepare your information in a way where you're coming in sharp, crisp, and clear, and you're being about as efficient with your time as possible, because the last thing you want to do is do that pitch and then end up having to chase them because you didn't do it correctly. You were not prepared. In order to get a better idea of my pitch style, check out salesremastered.com. I got this program super cheap, and right now I'm throwing in the scripts and templates module. It's a scripts and templates that I personally use in every single one of my own pitches, every single one of my own email templates, to produce millions of dollars in production per month. I'm a producing sales manager. My team uses them, and they use them because they copy and paste it from me. And so of course I want them to use it because it helps our team grow, in which we stand as the #1 team in the entire company. 3 consecutive years, bro. This is a national sized multi-billion-dollar lender, and I want you to be part of this success. So go check it out. salesremastered.com. It's called Closing Secrets 101. The thing is only $197. If you don't got $197 to put to your name, but you have $197 to go blow at a bar, to go blow on a Gucci shirt, to go, you know what I mean, to go out for one night, and not put it towards a program that's going to continuously feed you and teach you how to increase your income and make your job much easier, the thing pays for itself. Check it out. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not happy with it on day 29, be like, D, I just haven't made one sale from this one thing that has worked clearly for you and your entire team and thousands of your students. Man, something's wrong with it. I'll gladly refund you the entire amount. Check it out, salesremastered.com. I'll see you over there. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with someone who else could use it before they go into their pitch, and make sure that you look at your game in a completely different way. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.